marketing used to be very, very different. It used to be in a situation, in a scenario, where everything was very easy. You could create a tightly honed, crafted message. You could shove that out through a radio commercial or perhaps a newspaper ad. You could go to have a PR event or go to some kind of community event. And life would be good because when it was all said and done, the message that you wanted to get out, the message that you wanted to convey to your prospective members, you were in control of. You could control it. You could tightly craft that message and push that out in the direction that you wanted it to go. Well, it's all changed now. The internet's come along and it's changed everything. In fact, in the old days, probably old days for me, I guess, and I'm 43, I guess I'll be 44 here soon. It's not that too old. A lot of your socialization, the social things that you did them at church, or you did them you had that social experience at the youth soccer fields, or you went to the PTA, again, the football field, etc. And that's how you got your social needs met. But when the internet came along and as it's progressed, we've seen that the migration from the social aspects that we have moved from one-on-one or one-on-many to like really what this picture represents, and that is people that are close together but are really communicating via online. Now, have you ever been in a room where you're talking to someone and we could be talking and then all of a sudden that person's cell phone goes off, they've gotten a text, and you can just see the world stops, doesn't it? Have you ever been at home and the phone rings, your landline phone rings, and you go, I'm not going to get that. You tell your spouse, well, I'm not going to get that. But that phone goes off with the text. And it's as fast as you can get it, you're getting it, and you're looking it up. Why? Why is that? Good question. Well, that's a great answer. I'm glad you're asking. And that's this. It's because people who text you are people you have a relationship with. People who call your landline phone are doing what? Trying to sell you something. Even my 5'4", almost 5-year-old son and my 7-year-old son know what to do when a telemarketer calls.
We're all alone.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you now, as a marketing person, you have to straddle two worlds. You have to straddle this world that's the offline world, where your brick and mortar building that you walk into and customers are coming in and you have to communicate with them and your message has to get out within the community and the PR events still have to be there and all that stuff has to go. But you have this other world that you're responsible for, this online world that functions very differently. And the way that you communicate on this online world is very different than how you communicate in an offline world. And so with that, you sometimes feel like my job has gotten out of control. I've lost control. And the reason is, and the reality is, I guess, is that because of the online world, you no longer have total control of your marketing message. You don't have control of your brand anymore. Now, I know that can be kind of scary, and you might be thinking, well, is that possible? Is it really possible for me not to be in control anymore? Well, let me give you an example. Recently, an associate in our company met with a business here in Oklahoma City to possibly work with them in engaging us and helping in their digital environment. And the interesting thing is that as with all the plethora of things that we have to offer, some of which we'll outline today, that are you don't need us to do them, you can go do them on your own. What you'll find out, or what we found out is, this particular owner had a run-in with a client or a customer that they got crosswise. Have you ever had a crosswise customer in your establishment, in your credit union? Has that ever happened? Well, how do you deal with them? You do the very best that you can in person, right? You talk with them, or perhaps it's on the phone. You talk with them on the phone. You're trying to work that out. But by and large, when it's over, and that person goes their way, and you go your way, and you just try to move on. Well, in an online world, it's very, very different. What happened in this particular business is this irate customer went home, and instead of telling his wife what happened, guess what he did? He told the world what happened. He just got on and started typing a blog entry about his experience with this business, and in just that quick, punched the enter key, and the business that he had the problem with, their brand changed forever. Because an interesting thing happened is that once that blog post went out, it populated one of the top pages of Google. So when you Google this particular business in Oklahoma City, that blog post pops up on the top. So now the business owner is mad, because every time someone blogs his business name or Googles his business name, what pops up? But this bad referral, this bad comment. And lo and behold, you know what a bad comment or an irate customer does? Attracts other irate customers. And pretty soon you get this little community going on, and now you're out of control of it. Well, the interesting thing is this particular person or this particular business owner thought, I've got to get that off of Google. So he hired people. And so he hired people to try to get this blog post knocked off. And the harder that he tried, and the more money that he spent to it, the more distraught he became because he couldn't get it knocked off. So our associate talks with him, and it's interesting, again, as I mentioned, all the things that we have to offer this particular company. You know, the one thing that he wants the most is to get that blog post off. And here's the point again. And this is the thing that you and I and every other marketer really needs to understand. And that is the time has changed, and you're not in control of your brand, totally at least, anymore. But here's the question that I have for you. Is losing control of your marketing message, is that all bad? I mean, there's something that happens when you lose control, you gain interaction. And the price that you pay for interaction is the loss of control. So what happens? Let's just dream here for a second and say, what if you could create a group of loyal customers who loved your business? And all they could think about was how passionate they were about you. What would that do? Get enjoying a lot of that dancing, right? That's why I put it in there, to make you wake up so that you would know. But what if these people, so burned with the passion of your brand, that they became a megaphone for other people? Meaning that you could reach their friends and their friends' friends just by impacting a few people. Well, you can do that when you give up some control in exchange for interaction. And the question that you have to ask yourself, and every marketer, regardless of what they're doing, has to ask themselves, how much control am I willing to give up so that I can gain interaction? Because when you tell me something, you're lecturing to me. But when you bring me in and make me part of the story, now I interact with it. Now I can become a brand evangelist for you. So recently, what we did, we were confronted where we wanted to create a brand new entity in a very tough environment in an arena that pretty much frowns on new entries. Meaning that if you try to get into this arena with a new company or a new entity, the people who are the potential customers look at you kind of with crosswise. They're not really sure if they can trust you. So, but we wanted to break into this group, and we wanted to create a marketing platform and do it all in 2 weeks. So what ultimately ended up happening, at the end of 2 weeks, we had on a Facebook page gone from no Facebook fans to 14,000 Facebook fans. And out of those 14,000 Facebook fans, 1,876 of those people said, we want more. And here's the interesting thing. All those people on the peripheral that were standing back that were going, you know what, I don't want to be a first adopter. I want to let the other group of people decide first before I join in. They sat out skeptically on the peripheral. And guess who did all the heavy lifting for us? The 1,876 people who got in with us, saw what we were doing, and became our brand evangelists. Now, what happens if those 1,876 people don't like what we're doing? That's right. They go back and they tell all those people, and now they just validate the skepticism of the people. But the question is, are you willing to take the risk? You know, there are no great advances, there are no great rewards in life without taking a risk. And if you'll take a risk, and if you'll take a risk in the sense from your marketing message, and give up some control, and realize some things are not going to be perfect, and they're not going to be perfectly said, and some people aren't going to understand everything, but by and large you're not evaluating it by is every I dotted and is every T crossed. You're evaluating it is the football advancing down the field. And when you can do that, what ends up happening is you create a community. And that's really what you're after. Is what you want is a community to form around your brand. Now, when you think of community, what do you think of? You think of a group of people that are together because in Oklahoma City they've chosen to live here, so they have something in common. Or there's a community here in this room of people who are marketing directors of credit unions. There's communities around Oklahoma University football and Oklahoma State football, or the Oklahoma City Thunder, or the Symphony. There are communities that are involved around what? A common interest. So when you can take your marketing message and take it and invert it, so it's no longer about you, but it's about the community and it's about other people, and you just happen to be the person, the grand marshal of the parade, you create a vast community of loyal fans, of loyal supporters, of loyal members. Now, here's the question that I have. How can a business, credit union, somehow do what I just described? I'm not saying that success is measured by going from 0 to 14,000 Facebook fans in 2 weeks. And you're not going to do it with the credit union. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in most businesses that are local in nature. But you don't measure success by necessarily how much or how many. You measure it by the community and the strength of the community and how much involvement is in that community. So again, how can a business experience what I just described? Well, in order to do that, the marketing director has to take advantage of every single media outlet that's available to them, or him or her, in that particular moment. Now, I want to make the distinction between traditional media and new media. Traditional media would be like radio and television and newspaper and billboard and direct mail and all those things that do what? Push the message from you to the consumer. If you think of old media or traditional media, it's very much like this room is. You have a speaker up here in front, and this speaker is talking to you. There's maybe a little interaction, but I'm the one giving you the information. And that's how traditional media typically works. One of the things that you'll find in traditional media is the power resides in a few people's hands. I mean, we all grew up as television babies, right? I mean, we grew up around the TV. But we watched what? What the networks wanted us to watch. And we watched the characters that the networks wanted to portray. And we watched the morals and values that the networks wanted those characters to portray. The fact of the matter is, we weren't in any control. We watched what was given to us.